One of the things I love most about anime is its ability to be anything that it wants to be. There is so much freedom for creators to just make any kind of series that they want. You can combine so many different genres, like you can have Sasaki and Peeps, which is a isekai anime about a middle-aged man and his pet bird who go and use their magical powers to travel to another world and start a trading business. There's Zom 100, a zombie apocalypse anime that's basically centered around a dude trying to recover from having a dead-end nightmare job and just understanding and relaxing and chilling in the zombie apocalypse. Or Golden Kamuy, which is about a bunch of dangerous men all around Hokkaido trying to find buried gold, but it's also a food anime and really weird comedy anime as well.
We have to be free! Let's play sumo! Yes! Great idea!
I can go on and on and on like this, and for some of those anime it's a gimmick and you don't really get the full experience of the harebrained premise that you were bought into or brought into for this show. But one anime that fully lives up to its promise is Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi. Put simply, Delicious in Dungeon is a high fantasy series about a whole adventuring party going through a dungeon without having any real provisions to eat, so instead they make do with eating the monsters that they kill. And the anime for the first part ends up being more of a food anime than anything else, with each episode detailing the party's different kinds of monsters that they come across and how to prepare and cook them and the different meals that they decide to make with them. And of course, to go along with such a ridiculous premise, the anime itself is also more comedy based than anything else. The series taking a lot of enjoyment out of the over-the-top reactions of a lot of the party at the concept of having to eat a lot of the things that they're eating that end up being a lot of delicious meals. The party mainly consists of Laios, the human and warrior of the group, Chochuk, the halfling and locksmith, and Marcille, the elven mage. Together, the three of them are the remainder of a party that had been in the dungeon facing a red dragon, which was not going well as the dragon had gained a hold of the other spellcaster of the group, Fallon, who is Laios' sister. Before Fallon is eaten, she casts a spell to remove everyone else from the dungeon, having her entire party escape, but two of the members of the party decide that they're done with this group and they're gonna go off on their own, immediately resigning as soon as they escape. Laios, Chochuk, and Marcille also realize that they had lost all of the loot that they had from the dungeon and all of their supplies. They just have their basic equipment left and no money to really resupply, so there's not much they can really do, but at the same time, they still need to hurry and go save Fallon as soon as they can because she's been eaten. But they can still revive her, but that revive may not be as effective once she's fully digested, or the point is that they gotta get back to her as fast as they can, so they decide that they are just gonna eat stuff that they find in the dungeon. And Chochuk and Marcille find that Laios is just a bit too eager for all of this. It seems like he's been waiting for this moment for a very, very long time. As the group re-enters the dungeon and finds a few monsters that they want to cook up, they run into a dwarf named Senshi, who lives in the dungeon and also is an expert at cooking monsters. Laios and Senshi forming a fast bond and friendship over their shared enthusiasm of trying out different meals and cooking up monsters. Though Senshi is more excited by the cooking and Laios more excited by just monsters in general. From there, the gang works together to go back down the dungeon to go and find the red dragon that had defeated them and eaten Fallon. The crew along the way finding out different monsters to eat, and Chochuk, Marcille, and Laios seeing new sides of the dungeon that they hadn't seen before. These three had been adventuring in this dungeon for quite a while, but with Senshi they're able to really explore more of the ecosystem of the dungeon, seeing new things like orcs or understanding more of how the dungeon has been working for all these years. They also over time all learn more about each other, taking more time to actually understand the people who they've done such a dangerous mission with. Before, they were adventuring as a party, trying to get loot and act like any other adventuring party had been running this dungeon. But now they're on an actual mission to save somebody that they all care about. And by agreeing to take that mission, they've decided to do something incredibly dangerous because, again, they all went into here with no supplies, knowing that this is going to be a lot harder than a lot of their other previous runs. But they're all willing to do that, and they're all willing to build more bonds of trust and friendship between each other, and it's actually amazing seeing those bonds grow, especially as the crew all finds different monsters and cooks up different meals with Senshi. But the thing that makes this show so fun is all the characters' interactions and connections with each other, and ways that the show wants you to understand their passion, their history, and their own way of viewing the dungeon and their experiences. It also has one of my favorite aspects of any kind of fantasy world, where the world slowly builds itself out and slowly reveals itself to you over time. The characters characters are all a pretty standard adventure party of a number of different races that you'd be well familiar with if you read Lord of the Rings or played Dungeons & Dragons in any capacity. The show using that language and expectation to help actually just build out the characters more and get a little more deeper into their different cultures and upbringings and pasts. I love all 4 of the main characters. They each have their own little quirks that make them fun and interesting, like Laios being an absolute dumbass and obsessed with monsters. He has this weird offbeat personality that I absolutely love in its contrast to everyone else who is a normal person, but he is someone who's just obsessed with monsters and kind of really focused on that and just intrigued by it. Then there's Marcille the mage, someone who has a really close bond with Fallon as a friend as they went to school together, and I love seeing the exploration of her connection with Fallon and her connection with the rest of the group, as in the first couple episodes, Marcille is the butt of the joke a lot of the times, being the person who is most resistant to eating a lot of the weird and strange monster meals that they're all going to have, but also being someone who loves each and everything that's made. But still, even though she's loved the previous meals, there's always this apprehension going into the next meal, which is on one hand very, very relatable. I think a lot of people out there would feel really weird about eating a giant bat or a basilisk. She expertly serves the role as an audience surrogate while also having a lot of really fun moments and fun reaction shots. Then there's Chilchuck the halfling, who is sarcastic and not the most friendly of the group, but I really love his gruff, grumpy nature a lot of the times because it just serves as a nice foil to Laios and Marcille, who both can get a little too idealistic and carried away with things. He is someone who's always there to bring things back into focus, and that's an underappreciated role, but I love the way that Chilchuck does it. And the standout character of the series has to be Senshi. Senshi is an amazing, weird character. He's a dude who's lived in a dungeon for years and years, cooking anything that he can find and caring a lot about the ecosystem. He is obsessed with nutrition and balanced meals, and also making fun, innovative meals and trying out new things. I also really love that this is a series that does have some fan service in it, but most of that fan service is of Senshi himself. You even got some panty shots there, oh my god. Senshi, more like sensual, oh my god, if you know what I'm saying. Look at that mustache, oh man.
Senshi is handsome.
It's made all the better by the fact that Senshi in the English dub is voiced by ProZD, and I love ProZD. I've been watching his videos for years and years and years, and it's been great seeing him get more and more roles in anime, and this is probably my favorite one that he's ever done. He perfectly brings out the blunt, matter-of-fact nature of Senshi while also adding a lot of flair and fun, and that just makes every line read just so interesting. I love ProZD's work. I've loved his YouTube videos for years, and I'm just really happy for him. I'm so excited to see him just knock it out of the park in this role. He's doing great.
Come on! I can make bread with it! Bread! 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 Bread!
The whole English voice cast in general is amazing. This is definitely an anime that if you want to watch it in dub, watch it in dub. It's a great dub. I love it. One of the things that's floored me the most about this series is the animation studio behind it, Studio Trigger. Trigger is one of the biggest studios in anime, even though they're not a studio that has, seasonal output all the time. They're pretty selective in what they do. And for the most part, like almost all the time, they're doing original stories. They're stories that don't have a source material to them. They do a lot of things that may be a part of a shared universe, like their Star Wars Visions project or SSSS Gridman or something like that. They do a lot of projects that may be based in a shared familiar universe, but I think this is the first time they've just done a straight adaptation of a manga. And I gotta say, I actually really, really love what they're doing here. This is my favorite Trigger anime, which is the third time I've said that in one of my YouTube videos, but every single time it's been true. I talked about BNA years ago. That became my favorite Trigger anime because I didn't really have one that I was in love with before. Love BNA. And then Cyberpunk Edgerunners came out, and Cyberpunk Edgerunners was amazing. I loved it so much. But Delicious in Dungeon just hits everything that I look for in anime. This is so funny, ridiculous, and just a nice action-y adventure. There is everything you could want in this series, and Trigger brings that home in this adaptation with expert animation. Now this is definitely one of those series, since they're doing an adaptation, that their character designs look just like the manga for the most part, with not a lot of different variation or some of the weirdness that you get in, say, like a Kill la Kill or Promare. These character designs wouldn't scream that this is a Trigger anime right off the top, but I think that kind of works to their benefit because you can tell a lot of their animation flourishes all the way through this series. A lot of their usage of shading is very Trigger-like. There's a lot of great usages of high-octane action or more offbeat ways of editing and telling their jokes. There's actually a joke in like episode 1 or 2 where Marcel is reacting to something ridiculous that Laios has said, and they just cut in on her face instead of like animating a new face, and you can tell like they have kind of like sized up the image a little bit higher than you're supposed to, and I actually really love that joke. I love that a lot. It's very much not the normal kind of editing you would get from an anime. This is definitely like modern millennial zoomer kind of humor of just like cutting in a little bit and having this weird reaction shot. And it's things like that, touches like that I think are a lot of fun in this series. As a fantasy show about eating monsters, there's a ton of great monsters and designs and different ways of fighting them and lots of combat. But combat is never the actual focus of the series. Sure, characters are fighting fairly regularly, like every single episode there's a fight of some kind, and Trigger does a great job with its animators having a lot of cool different cuts and scenes and fights that just are so memorable and look so beautiful, but also not keeping the focus on combat or fighting. You get the feeling that every member of this party has a good amount of experience and know what they're doing and can handle themselves in any situation. And you're not watching them grow into that, they just are that from the beginning. And I actually find that really refreshing. You don't need to see these characters build up and grow and get stronger. They're already strong. They already understand what's going on here. They already made it down to this area to get to the dragon to begin with. They are already a capable team. So the series doesn't concern itself with combat, it doesn't concern itself with the mechanics of fighting. The main focus is on the comedy, the food, and the characters. It all comes to Laios, Chochuk, Marcel, and Senshi trusting each other, learning more about each other, and growing as a party, and seeing that just adventure they go on to try to save Fallon. There are some things that I could say I wish would improve, like the tone is a bit weird at times, especially in episode 1 where you have all the characters committing to go into the dungeon at great risk to themselves to try to save Fallon, and then it almost instantly goes into jokes about how obsessive Laios is about eating monsters and how much he's been wanting to do this, and that can feel a bit odd at times, but to be honest, I didn't mind it all that much. It's something weird that I noticed, but overall it didn't hamper my enjoyment of the series. At the end of the day, I was still loving each and every episode. The worst thing about Delicious in Dungeon is that season 1 is now over, and I cannot wait for season 2. But also the manga is complete, so I may just give that a read, you know, while you wait. And also there's a little more details I hear in the manga than there is in the anime, kinds of comedy scenes or other smaller moments here, so that's always, I think, a great thing about different adaptations is being able to go back to the source material or other adaptations and seeing different kinds of details each adaptation can add by the sake of it being an adaptation in different mediums. So there's that. Delicious in Dungeon is one of the best anime that's come out in 2024, and I feel so invigorated by it. This is a series that invigorates me and gets me to want to watch more anime, gets me to want to cook more food and do my own culinary explorations. It makes me want to do better by Senshi. There's so many more things I could say about Delicious in Dungeon, and maybe I'll do another video where I write something out and actually like dive into this a little more, but I did want to give just some quick thoughts on this series, and I highly recommend it if you couldn't tell. I love Delicious in Dungeon, and I hope you all give it a chance because this is one of the best anime out right now. It's all available right now on Netflix. It has an incredible dub and some really fun, engaging characters, and I just hope you enjoy it. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to thank you very much for sticking around and listening to me ramble. If you like this video, please be sure to like it, leave a comment telling me what you thought about Delicious in Dungeon, and be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos similar to this, as I got a whole bunch of anime takes that I'm just spewing out here. Just so much anime to talk about. So I want to thank you all for coming by. I hope you have a great day, a great night, or whatever it is you're having, and stay rad.